Life is a journey,
not a destination.
And you don't need to go it alone.
Join me for practical tips and strategies on using mindfulness techniques and creating mindset shifts that can reduce stress, improve productivity, and give you a fresh perspective on work and life.
This is a Candy Factory Mini.
Mastering the Mindful Mindset
with Jose Johnson.
And welcome to this week's episode of Mastering the Mindful Mindset. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. Today, we're going to talk about creating a mindfulness practice. But first, let's set the stage properly by doing a little reset. Now, if you watched any of the previous episodes, you'll hopefully remember this exercise. If you haven't watched them yet, don't worry, you can still easily follow along. Just make sure you go back to episode 1 and watch it later so you can catch all of the details. So, either sitting or standing, put one hand just below your belly button and the other hand on the small of your back. Imagine your abdomen's like a big balloon, and we're just going to take in a nice deep breath, filling the entire belly. So take a deep breath in. And breathe out. And again, we take a nice deep breath in. And we let it go. And one more deep breath in. And relax. Let it go. All right. Hopefully that little reset's allowed you to clear your mind and get you in the right state of mind for our time together today. Hey, did you know that I wrote a book? Yep, it's called Mindfulness Secrets. And do you know why I wrote that book? Well, I was recently interviewed by Suzette Mullins on her show, So You Want to Write a Book, which is, by the way, another fantastic production from the Candy Factory Collective. Suzette asked me about my big why for writing my book. Now, I'm not going to spoil that episode by giving you all the details because I'm sure you'd much rather watch it yourself, right? But while I did give her my big why for writing the book, I didn't give her the full story of how this book came to me. All right, it's story time. And today the story comes directly from my book, Mindfulness Secrets. I used to be an international level martial arts competitor. My specialty was Tai Chi. When I was training for the final season of my career, I would often train 8 or more hours a day for 6 days a week. During that period, I achieved tremendous results. However, that intensity of training was not sustainable, and I often felt guilty when I took a day off. When I realized I can make everything that I did practice, then my skill skyrocketed. I didn't have to be in the gym to work on my posture, my balance, my coordination, my focus, or my breathing. When I focused on those essential skills in my day-to-day activities, I was constantly practicing. And because I was constantly practicing, I was constantly improving. By creating that mind shift, I was able to focus more time on the specific skills I needed to work on instead of the general skills. When I figured out how to go from practicing Tai Chi to living Tai Chi, I can improve my results exponentially without having to live in the training hall. The same applies to mindfulness practice. Creating a dedicated time and place to practice will help you establish a routine. However, your ultimate goal should be to make every moment an opportunity to be mindful. Now, that was one of the biggest aha moments in my life. From that point on, I became a little bit obsessed about finding ways to simplify the steps to mastering any discipline. Now, notice I said simplify. Why? Because one of the reasons that progress takes so long and so few achieve mastery is that we tend to make things too damn difficult. Yes, there are certain steps you need to go through. Yes, it does take time. But the reality is, particularly when it comes to mindfulness, it doesn't take nearly as long as you might think. So here are a few important facts to remember. Change is constantly occurring. Nothing in the universe is static. And because change is occurring every instant, you can create change in an instant. But there's a difference between instantaneous change and lasting change. Now, that difficult difference may not be what you think it is. Now, when it comes to mindfulness, to create lasting change, We need to have consistency in our thoughts and actions. But what does it mean to be consistent? It means that you keep doing the same thing over time. Now, remember that change is instantaneous. As soon as you start thinking or acting a new way, you start moving towards a new result. But just because change starts in an instant doesn't mean that you achieve your goal instantaneously. There's a big difference between initialization and completion. To create large, lasting change, you have to continually experience the small, instantaneous changes, because in every instant, things are changing. It's about stringing those moments together. Like I used to tell my Tai Chi students, if you only practice the principles I'm teaching you for the few hours that you're with me in class, you'll make a little bit of progress. If you add an hour of personal practice a day, you'll become quite good. But when you figure out how to make every moment an opportunity to improve just a little bit, you'll become a master. The biggest things in the universe are formed as a result of the smallest things coming together. Now, what are the biggest roadblocks that people face when trying to establish a mindfulness practice? One, they don't know how or where to start, and two, time management. What I try to accomplish through writing Mindfulness Secrets and also in creating all of my online content, including this show, is to give you the tools that you need to get started in your practice. And if you already have an established practice, I hope to give you new and maybe even better ways to take your practice to the next level. Now, there's certainly no lack of information available to things that you can be doing. The problem is picking the right things to do. When your aim is to gain mastery in anything, mindfulness included, you will need to practice. But remember that practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So whatever it is that you're trying to gain mastery in, make sure that you practice with these methods and these criteria. Right? The first one is effectiveness. This is the first requirement, because if the methods aren't effective, why do them? Two, efficiency. Once you know something works, look for the most efficient way to approach it. Sometimes there's a lot of fluff and filler in things, particularly in mindfulness practices where there are a whole lot of rituals and trappings. And these are things that aren't particularly designed to get you the quickest results possible. And three, sustainability. To gain mastery, you need to be consistent in your practice. The Chinese call this gong fu, a skill that's attained through hard work over time. Mastery is a marathon, so you can't approach it like a sprint. Many people get excited about starting a practice, but they set themselves up for failure because they overcommit themselves. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to practice 8 hours a day, and that worked great when my job was training. But once I had to take on other responsibilities, I couldn't maintain that schedule. See, it's not a question of whether you can do things today. It's a question of if you can continue to do them day in and day out. And this is where point number 2 comes in. How do you find time to practice? And how do you maximize that time? Well, that's why I rely on 2 main strategies: microdosing and habit stacking. Now, let's start with microdosing. When I say that, I'm not talking about taking small quantities of drugs. Although in reality, that's exactly what's happening. Remember that your brain uses chemicals and electricity to communicate. When you break down your mindful experiences, and particularly your emotions, they are fundamentally a result of changes in your brain chemistry. So instead of shooting for one massive dose, like you would get if you spent 2 hours straight meditating, aim for smaller increments throughout the day, like doing a 90-second reset every hour. Or let's say you do Tai Chi. Instead of running an entire form, just pick 2 or 3 movements to do at a time. And when it comes to dedicated practice, a concept that's linked to developing mastery, this is actually more beneficial for staying in a state of pure focus. There's a point of diminishing returns when it comes to our mental stamina. Now, let's talk about habit stacking. Habit stacking is exactly what it sounds like. You stack one habit on top of an existing habit. And habits are the things we do well habitually. We don't have to think about things that are habits. In fact, the only time that we consciously think about our habits is when we're trying to break it. Habit stacking is the way that we establish a new behavior, which takes repetition, by co-opting the time from something you already do. When you habit stack, you get practice time in without having to create time to practice. So here's how this might work. Let's say you want to do some Tai Chi or yoga every day. And every morning you brew a fresh pot of coffee. While the coffee is brewing, do a few postures instead of scrolling through social media or watching TV. Now, this is actually stacking and microdosing combined, right? See how easy that was? Or let's say you want to meditate more, but you also like to go for walks every day. Stack your meditation practice with your walk. Yes, walking meditation is a real practice. Typically, that means paying attention to the physical aspects of walking, like paying attention to how your body moves through space or the feel of each step. While you're walking, you can also incorporate mindful breathing exercises like square breathing, or focus your awareness on your surroundings, mindfully taking in sights, sounds, and smells. Or instead of listening to music, listen to a guided meditation or binaural beats track. In all honesty, if you're looking for a way to turbocharge your overall physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, this is the one that you'd want to do. So here are some of the strategies that you can use to create consistency in your practice. Intentionally create your day. Take a few moments before you start your day to create a picture in your mind of how you want your day to go. Decide on what practices you want to incorporate. If you want even better results, do this right before you go to bed the night before. Now, I strongly suggest writing down your intentions. Use a journal, a loose piece of paper, or better still, a note card. A reason that will become clear when we talk about number 2, which is pick a card. Another way of finding your focus is to let the universe do it for you. Take a stack of index cards and write a different mindful intention on each card. Something like smile at everyone you meet, or be aware of your posture or your breathing. Mix up the pile and pick a card. Whatever the card says is now your intention for the day. Alarms and reminders. If you want to engage in your mindfulness practice at a specific time, try setting an alarm or reminder on your phone. It's hard for us to ignore a beep, chime, or buzz. It's the dopamine rush of something new and exciting. So use it to your advantage and set an alarm to remind yourself to be mindful. Set a trigger. Another way to remind yourself to practice mindfulness is to attach the practice to a trigger event. Pick an event or a location, like every time you're stopped at a traffic light or whenever you pass a mirror, as the prompt or trigger to do your practice. Now, the prompt could also be tied to an upcoming event that you know will be stressful, like making sure you do some type of practice before you go into your first business meeting of the day. And if you're looking for a little jump start to your mindfulness practice, I'm going to be offering a free 5-day Mindfulness Mini-Camp starting on Monday, November 2nd. Look, with all of the chaos and anxiety that's surrounding our current state of affairs, this is the perfect time to get your head clear and your soul centered. So each day at 11 a.m., I'll share with you ways to set up your mindfulness practice and offer live coaching tips so that you can get the best results. I'll also give you a daily challenge to reset your focus. Now, if you're interested in joining, just use the link that's in the comments section below, or just email me at jose@josejohnson.com with the subject, sign me up, and I'll get you enrolled. So thanks for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed our time together and that you have some new ideas on how to create an effective and efficient mindfulness practice. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to cover in a future episode, drop in the comments. I'll do my best to help you out. Make sure you subscribe and share this episode with someone that you feel could benefit from this type of information. And also, please take time to check out all of the other programming brought to you here on the Candy Factory Collective. So until next time, remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Mastering the Mindful Mindset is part of the Candy Factory mini-series and is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective. You can find the show streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to the audio version anywhere you get your podcast.
Jose Johnson has traveled the world competing and teaching martial arts.
He's an entrepreneur, musician, author, and speaker.
Check out Jose's other podcast,
The Trumpet Gurus Hang,
and learn more about his book,
Mindfulness Secrets, at his website,
josejohnson.com.
Mastering the Mindful Mindset is produced by the Candy Factory Collective.
at the Candy Factory Co-working Campus in Lancaster, PA.
Our music was written and recorded by Jose. Production support by Anna Tran.
administrative support by Ann Kirby, Ariana Henderson,
Krisha Martzel, Jason Mundock, and Robert Diggs.
Notes and links can be found at the show post at our website,
CandyFactoryCollective.com.
Candy Factory.
Collective.